T2. No, actually, I fucking can't do that, but... no. When Lewis gives you all clear, I'll start it up. Because he said to make an announcement when, fuck, I should probably ping everyone. It's my bad. Oh good. There it is. Love that. We good. Damn right, get a fucking way for me. Alright, once this is all good, someone's already come with pizza. Yo, what is good, bro? Alright. Let's start this shit up. Drew said, would you like to count down from 3 so I can have a bit of a moment to clear my head? I said, do you want to count me down? Yeah, already. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to IRL Tier 2. It is the second round of this inaugural season. I'm your commentator, GoldenSniper here, and we are back in Baku. We've already seen one driver gone off. It is the Mercedes of Sean in one of the first couple corners here. As you're going to start with sprint qualifying here in Azerbaijan. A couple drivers on their outlaps already. But also a couple new faces this week. We have J.R. Couto in the Ferrari. We have Leandro in the Aston Martin. And we have Jay Oliveira in the Alpine. Some filling faces as well. Export and Monk back in the second race. We have Sparky. Apparently, according to the man in my ear, Sean has done a Charles Leclerc into the castle section. For now, there seems to be a little bit of damage on the end plate and then maybe on the front right wing. But for now, he seems to be pushing. There's a caution in Sector 2. I think there's still Sean going slowly off the exit of that corner that you just saw. But for now, he's still pushing on. You can see the damage on the right part of his front wing. As a couple of drivers are now on their flying laps. We have DeWald in the Sauber. We have Deathly Venom in the Alpine. And we have the Red Bull driver of Inhuman Dan. Also, Zoic Sport and Monk on his outlap. And Sparky just about to start his flying lap as well. There is some breaking news up near the paddock. Obviously, last week in Australia, there was that riveting news back in Tier 1 that one of the drivers had swapped Sauber for Alpine. Well, there's some more breaking news in Tier 2. Damien in the Haas. I did call for him to be in a Tier 1 seat in, I think, in the Spanish Grand Prix, and before qualifying even started. And let's just say those prayers have been answered. He has been given the Tier 1 seat for the foreseeable future in Haas, so he will not be racing anymore, and that will put the driver standings a real shake up. So who will take the opportunities now that one of the main drivers are gone? Will it be someone like Dan? Will it be Impulse? He had a great race last week. It was very quick, even though he's just a reserve driver for the Williams team. He's just a reserve driver, and he's already got so much pace. I don't know how he doesn't have a full-time set as well. There are a couple of drivers that do need to keep their toes on edge, as that we do see that DeWald is going to finish his flying lap, and we'll be setting a benchmark for this weekend. So 1:42.1, not a bad time for the Sauber drivers. A couple of drivers are to come through. We have Dan on a 140.0. That's more like it. That is a decent time you want to set. You see, you're going to the runoff area. He's had a bit of a spin as well. We have Deathly Venom with 142.2, and we have Explorer Monk with 141.2. So good time being set in so far here in sprint qualifying. A couple of drivers already gone off track. I think that's Dan still in the runoff area off turn 1. It seems a couple of drivers have also invalidated on their laps, so their times won't count for now. As you see, there's another caution in Sector 1. I think that is Joao Couto having a moment on his debut. Not set a lap so far, but he's just on a flying lap now. Next to cross the line, there's another caution, Sector 1. Nothing as of yet, though. There is Leandro, who is now on a flying lap next to cross the line. He says a fastest Sector 2. That is more like it. There's a caution in Sector 1 yet again. I think that is one of the Alpine drivers having one. I think it's Deathly Venom going a little bit slow. Unless, for my mistake, it's probably Dan letting people through. As we see Leandro Betts cross the line. A 141.7 on medium tyres. Very good time for the Aston Martin driver. As we just double check the tyre allocation. A couple of people on medium tyres. Dan setting the pole time on mediums. We'll Explorer Monk on the softs for now. Leandro on the mediums. We have DeWald on the soft tyres. It's almost like a game of Connect 4, trying to see how long these fucking loops can go. Medium, soft, medium, soft. We've got Deathly Venom on the mediums. We have Mateus Cunha on the soft tyres. Joao Couto on the mediums, Sparky on the softs, and then from Sean downwards it is medium tyres. You just did see, I believe, that was Impulse doing his flying lap at 144.6, maybe a little bit slow compared to last week. A great lap from him. And nothing really much changing the timing sheets as of now. I think Explorer Monk had a great time there, unless it was someone else who reversed time with a 141.5. That's a good time. He put him into provisional P3. We have Dan doing a cool down lap, but he's, I think, on low fuel, so he will come into the pits. Of course, in Sector 3, that is just Dan coming into the pits, so nothing too major. Next to cross the line, I believe that is the Aston Martin again of Leandro. He's already a second and a half up on his time. So this has been a great lap. We're probably pushing into the 139s already. Coming across the line, he gets a 139.8. That is definitely one of the quicker times I've seen on Baku. So that will be a very good time to beat for some of these drivers. And we look to see how some of the quicker ones react to that. Leandro obviously on his debut here in Aston Martin. It's a decent way to show that you're here and you're here for the championship. So next to cross the line is the Haas. Obviously, like he is on low fuel. You can see the fuel lights blaring. I'm not sure if this is a cool down lap or this is just him on a flying lap. We will see if he does cross the line. He's gonna keep pushing on here. Explorer Monks. He will go and take it all the way. He will cross the line. He does a 140.9. Hello, Damien. Welcome to the stream. We have I believe that is a Aston Martin going slow. I think you believe he is on low fuel, so that will put him off his flying lap. Joao Couto setting a 140.4, decent time for him. And we have one of these Saubers coming into pits. It's DeWald, so he won't improve on his time as well. Still a 140.1 for the Sauber driver. Uh, 3 minutes 30 seconds left in sprint qualifying. We have a Haas going slow. It's exported Monk, so he's on low fuel as well. That will put him in a bad moment. We can see the Aston Martin getting out of the way of two drivers there. There is an Alpine on a flying lap. Sorry, it's an out lap, for Jay Oliveira. Behind him there is an Aston Martin. No, sorry, there's a Williams. No, fuck, even worse. There is a Mercedes behind him. Both of them are on out laps. Sean is on the sauce and Oliveira is on the mediums. So next to cross the line. And he's actually starting a flying lap. I think it will be DeWald But the low fuel lights are blaring, so it's wondering if he is going to take this lap or not. Seems a good decent line here, but he will take it to the pit, so that will not improve his time. There's a Ferrari behind him of JR Kuto. He also is experiencing some low fuel as well. There's caution in sector 2. I believe they're just the Haas of Exporter Monk still going slowly around the track. As you see, what will JR Kuto do? Will he take it, or will he go straight into the pits? Since we take... No, never mind, he has gone into pits. He's hit the pit wall twice as well, so... That's not the best showing of respecting the pit speed limit in the pits. So that's a little bit unfortunate for the Ferrari driver, but nonetheless, it doesn't seem to do too much damage. I'm surprised he didn't actually retire with the terminal damage. Maybe one of the front suspension axles might have flown off if that was me. But nonetheless, he is quite lucky to have survived that. Is he back up next across the line? There is a Sean having another moment in the castle section. So he's had a massive moment there. That'll definitely have some damage to his car. As you can see, there is a driver out across the line. I think it's Dan. Sorry, he is on an outlap. That is my bad. He is starting his lap. Impulse is also starting his lap, and Deathly Venom as well. There's a minute 19 left in the session. Caution in sector 1. I think that is Exporter Monk. He has retired from session. Exporter Monk has retired on track. So that is not the nicest thing, I should say, to do. The stewards will definitely look into that. So, already one retiree here in sprint qualifying. He's done all he can, Exporter Monk. I'm not sure why. Decided to retire on track. There's definitely going to look at in the stewards and probably will become with a penalty for the Haas driver. 140.9 is the best he could do. As you're looking at I think that is Mateus Cunha on an outlap. Couple drivers on their outlaps come through on the flying laps. See who can pip Leandro with a 130.9 in sprint qualifying. He is also on an outlap, but he has invalidated his outlap. He's cutting the track. I'm not sure if that's allowed to gain a quicker time to your to beat it. But he is going to start his outlap. I'm not sure if there's to be reprimands, I'm guessing, from the F1 stewards on whether he is allowed. But we'll cut to Dan here. He's cutting here. He's got all the deploys, but he comes into the pits. He's it's an odd move. He has aborted his final flying lap. I do see Deathly Venom with a 140.66 for a 006. That's a decent time for him. Neither of the Sauber drivers decide to improve that time, but you see Impulse at 139.7. That is provisional pole, and it looks like JR Kuto can't improve on his time. So we cut to Sean here. Sean, he's 21 seconds off his fastest time. That'll put him around the 1 minute 40s. He's hit the wall as well off the exit. I think turn 18. So that's a lot of loss on his time. He's going to graze the wall ever so slightly. What time can he put? What's a 148.6? That is quite slow for the Mercedes. And we cut back to Jay Oliveira in the other Alpine on fresh mediums. Surely he can beat that time. No grazing of the wall for him coming across the long DRS straight. He's going to absolutely send it. He's used all the arrows again. The deploy has been put in. A 139.8. You just saw it for a split second. That puts him up to P2. But that does mean Impulse in the Williams will be starting on pole for this sprint in Azerbaijan. As you look at the rest of the grid, we have Impulse P1. You have Jay Oliveira, that great lap just at the end there, P2, 0.06 of a second off him, and behind him we got Leandro, 0.09 of a second off Impulse. Dan in P4, with a sizable gap of 3/10 to the Williams drive. We have Deathly Venom P5, Jericho on his debut, decent run there, P6, Sportabunk P7, both Sabres P8 and P9, Sparky, unable to improve his slower time, P10, and up the back with a 148 is sadly the Mercedes of Sean. Now looking into the sprint, we'll quickly look over the driver's standings from last week. Obviously, P1 is Damon, but he will no longer race in Tier 2, so that puts it wide open. Impulse on a technicality will lead the Drivers' Championship on 28 points behind him. Fokuena, the McLaren driver, in P2 with 21 points. Dan behind him by 1 point in P3. Drizzo, 17 points in P4. Sparky in P5. Deathly Venom with 9 points in P6. DeWald, one of the Sauber drivers, had a good race last week. That puts him into P7, and Sean will get P8. Exwater Monk last week had quite a poor showing, so it puts him in P9, and Hunter will go P10. And they'll put Reverse Tom, the other Sauber driver, so far in P11. But the lights are going to come out here in Baku for the sprint. It's lights out and away we go. Impulse, it's a great start for London. You see a bit of a wheel spin actually from him. Couple drivers really switching positions as Dan moved up into P2 already. There's a Sauber that's spot off in the background. That is Mateus Cunha having a massive moment off the first turn. You can see Deathly Venom as well having another moment, both on the same corner. I'm not sure if there was contact between both drivers, but that's definitely not the way you want to start your sprint off the first corner, having a massive spin and almost ruining your chances of points in the sprint. As the Impulse still in P1. Dan already moved up 2 positions, but he will have the Alpine behind him slowly, but he's catching up to that Williams pretty quickly. So we'll see what these two drivers do. You see the gap has already started forming. Oliveira is a little bit slower, but he's had a contact with J.R. Couto there. So he's going to lose a couple positions. As you see, there is the Aston Martin hitting the wall. It's Leandro. He's done a Charles Leclerc. He's hit the wall in the sprint. And you can see as well, that is DeWald having a moment. And also, J. Oliveira hitting the inside corner. A lot of carnage here on the first lap, and it's only in the sprint. You wonder what will happen in the race. You see out in front still, Impulse and Dan are fighting for P1. They look to be the driver's speed this weekend, as J.R. Couto is 3.2 seconds behind Dan in P2. If you come to the end of the first corner, we have 1/10 of a second separates these two drivers in P1 and P2. As you look to see what will happen on the end of the race. Impulse 1:43.5. That's a decent first lap, considering his race for. Dan almost went off on the side. He seems to have hit the wall a little bit, so it puts him in a massive spin. I think he's also been his front wing as well, so that's definitely making him a lot slower. You can see the damage on the right side of his car. He's pulling him to the side of the road. It's a very interesting choice. They're letting a couple of cars. You can see the sliding. I think he's got a puncture as well. Dan has got a puncture. His right rear tyre has absolutely shredded off the contact. You can see him swerving and spinning, and he's hit the wall. So that's what even more damage to his front wing. Oh, from fighting for the win off one corner into turn 1, he's hit the wall, and that's almost surely damaged his chances of a decent points finish as he retires on track with a puncture. That is so unfortunate for the Red Bull driver, and that will put him in a very bad position coming into this weekend. Nothing happened there, Sammy boy. It was just he did go a little bit wide off the first corner and smacked it into the wall, getting a puncture from grazing. So we have Impulse ahead in front by now 5.6 seconds as Dan Diaz does DNF on lap 2. We're gonna no real pressure from anyone else, but we cut to Sparky and Sean. They are the closest drivers right now. We have a pack of 4 here. Sean, Sparky, Venom, and we have DeWald just up the back. He's gonna be out of DRS range though. Sorry, that is Mateus Cunha. My bad to say I was a bunch of great lads. As you Deathly Venom overtakes Sean, and Sparky seems one's going to move down the inside. There might have been a little bit of contact there, but we will move as Deathly Venom moves up into P4. This is definitely one of the quicker driver packs. As you can see, Matthias Cunha almost went off, and Sean has definitely gone off into the runoff area. So he drops down to P8, and that puts both Sabre drivers P6 and P7 in the sprint. That's a great showing already. Had a decent result last weekend in Spain. So that will put them at a great opportunity for some points in the sprint. If I'm not wrong, I think it is P1 to P10 points-wise in the sprint. As we are currently watching Matthias Cunha. You can see his teammate DeWald in the background having a bit of a spin, and Sean again having another spin. He's had a moment. He's hit the wall twice, trying to get out of hitting the wall once. He spun around and smacked it into the other side of the wall. You can hear the screeching of the tires as he takes. Oh, he's hit the wall again, and that's a Charles Leclerc moment number 3 for Sean. I think he had once in qualifying and 2 already in the sprint. He's 14 seconds off. And surely you can see the damage on his wing. He's been a very, very slow car. It's definitely going to compromise a lot of his race. You can see this lock up as he almost grazes the wall yet again. Behind him, he's got the Leandro 2.1 seconds. Now that's dropping dramatically as he does have his front wing. Sean is going all over the place. He's driving extremely erratic. There is only 2 laps left, so he will probably not pit, but unless he can handle that much of a front downforce loss. As you do see DeWald coming into the pits. I'm not sure why he'd pit on lap 4, starting now. You see Leandro with the fastest time of a 1:40.9. That's a good time in the race. You can see Sean has retired in the back. He's retired in the pits, and that's the second DNF of this sprint in Baku. See, one of the drivers almost having a moment as you just cut to the Ferrari of J.R. Couto. We have Impulse out in front still by 6.4 seconds. Surely, after this week's performance and last week's performance, he will definitely be getting a tier 1 seat. There's a couple of the other drivers are slowly closing his Sparky, slowly catching up to Deathly Venom. He was in DRS mode, but he did lose at 7/10 off that one corner. So that's advantage to Deathly Venom. You can see the Alpine driver going across. I think it's turn 14 here. Lovely control of the car and lovely aerial view. Whoever does these aerial shots in F1 definitely need a raise. Yeah, as a caution in Sector 1, but that is just Sean's car retiring as the AI does take over in the pits because Codemasters and EA cannot make a decent game. And they don't actually allow people to retire in the pits without them actually going back on track like an absolute scat. But we're here, lap 5 of this sprint. Impulse is still ahead by around 6.5 seconds. So unless something does happen, and for the sake of the man, I hope not, he will definitely come home to win the race. Of course, no pressure from the drivers behind. They are simply too far back as we are now at Jalcuso in P2. Just about to take the chicane here. Lovely exit, almost grazing the wall, but that is okay for the man himself. We have up the back of the grid, DeWald, P9. We have Matthias Cunha here. Did a bit of a slide out of the entry of that corner. I'm not sure how hard he is pushing those medium tyres, but he is definitely pushing them a lot. And he's hit the castle section barrier there. His rear right tyre just whacking into it. He's sliding already around some of these corners. The rear axle seemed to not be stable enough to handle the high G-forces of those wheels. And you see him cutting the curb and sliding almost as well. This is a little bit, should I say, clumsy from the Sauber. He slides again out of that corner. There's more sliding for the Sauber drivers. Comes the final lap. This is the final lap of the sprint. Impulse is selling from it. He's slowing down a little bit. We come back to the front here. Impulse is still flying ahead in P1. Jacuto P2, and it's Water Monk. Great showing in the sprint this week. Up until P3, all the drivers have a slight gap to each other, and they will look to take it all the way home for a great podium finish. So no drivers close to each other apart from Sparky, still trying to slowly catch her. Definitely better, but those soft tyres, I dare say, are a little bit worn. You can see him sliding in that corner just there as the camera comes to him once again. And those soft tyres are definitely more worn than you think, but not for some. Impulse is still flying on those soft tyres. You wonder when those are going to start wearing. Maybe if this was a more longer sprint, you'd see some drivers pitting off these softs. But for now, there's only a 6-lap sprint here in Baku. Coming to the final corner. Lovely exit of caution in Sector 3. That is the Ferrari of Jacuto having a small moment. So that loses him a bit of time to Impulse. But nonetheless, we cut back to the long straight. And coming across the line now in that Williams is Impulse, who will take the sprint win here in Azerbaijan. And coming across the line now, Jacuto on his debut for the Ferrari team. A brilliant drive for P2. Exporter Monk in the background. P3. And there is your podium for Baku. Thank you, Andrew, for hosting a session. He just had to leave. We do thank him for hosting every week. And he is just a great driver and a commentator for Tier 2, my man, the GOAT himself. Death event and finishing in P3. No penalties. That is really good to see in Baku, but I do say it is a sprint circuit, so if you do get track line penalties, that is a bit on you. Sparky finishing P5. That is Mateus Cunha in the Sauber. Great result for him and the Sauber team. P6. Leandro on his debut. Slightly worse than some of the other drivers. P7. J. Oliveira. P8. And at the back of the grid, the last of the racing drivers, I should say, concurrent drivers that are still actively racing. It is DeWald in P9. 2 retirees as fit Sparky getting driver of the day for a decent P5 finish. We have Sean and Inhuman Dan both retiring. Dan lap 2 first corner, whacking the wall, getting a puncture and front wing damage. That put him out of the race, and Sean retiring in the pits after having a moment or two of his own. And that will put some decent talking points here as you come to qualifying now. And we'll see what these drivers can do. Only 2 drivers pitting in the... Sorry, 3 drivers, I should say, pitting in the sprint. Leandro, Oliveira, and Sir Lewis, they all had damage and had to pit because they couldn't handle the downforce loss and the steering, I guess, as well. As coming here to qualifying in Azerbaijan, all the drivers are rested and ready. And this will be 18 full qualifying minutes, and I'll be talking through every single second, possibly hurting your ears, so you may not turn the volume down. It's just a slight warning for anyone watching headphones or on their phone or whatever device you're on. If I do get a bit loud in the chat, please tell me to kindly shut the fuck up. But we move. It's already been 30 seconds. No drivers are out. As I did say that, one of the Saubers, both Saubers actually going to make their way out of the pits. Currently, it is both DeWald and Mateus Cunha coming out first. As you see, a Ferrari behind them of Jacuto, podium in the sprint. Good showing on your debut. Can he recoup it in the actual race itself? A longer race, I should say. And it's just under 30 laps here in Baku. I could be wrong, but it's going to be a lot longer race strategy. Will come into play with the pits, with the pitting, and what tyres you do go on here. As a couple more drivers in the pits, we have J. Oliveira in the Alpine. We have the Aston Martin of Leandro as well. You can see J. Oliveira going a little bit slow to let the Aston Martin through. They are both on an outlap. You see the Aston Martin waiting there. Sean coming out of the pits as well. Bit of a lockup there from J. Oliveira. He's just smoke billowing from those rear tyres as they will make their way around the track once and then start their flying lap. Couple of drivers still in the pits. You have Deathly Venom, the other Alpine driver, Impulse. Great win in the sprint. Inhuman Dan, a very unfortunate way to DNF. As you see him coming out of the pits, as well as his teammate Sparky in the other Red Bull. And that will just put Impulse and Deathly Venom so far to not come out of the pits. As you can see, both Sours across the line, start their flying laps. Let's patiently wait for a moment or two. As I do come around the final corner, you see the Wold about to start his flying lap. We will take it through as he's the first driver to start their flying lap here. I believe it is a 35% race, so that'll be around 25 to 30 laps, Sammy boy. We'll look at his telemetry now. Here he is, almost collecting the wall off turn 2 into the DRS zone. Lovely, almost too much ERS. 18 laps. Okay, so that is my bad. See the wall almost on the curb there. A lot of ERS loss, I should say, for the young Sauber driver. There's certainly now you don't want to be pushing the car. You obviously want to have as much ERS as possible. You can see him hit the wall off the corner exit. It went too wide, and that will put his time in jeopardy there. Not invalidating as of yet, so he's still going to push his car. As you see his teammate in the background, you see Mateus Cunha. But he's just took in the castle section now. Behind him you have Joao Couto almost clipping the barrier himself. So we have DeWald here on a flying lap. What will his sector 2 time be? He almost collects the wall yet again off that corner. He's come to the slightly long straight after the 1:18.1 for sector 2. That should put him about the 1:42s, 1:43s time wise. Unless I'm completely wrong, he blows out the water with 1:40. Then I'll look like a right tosser here. Going across the final long straight, you can see both Saubers close towards each other. What will DeWald get? And will his teammate beat it? He crossed the line now with a 1:43.6. That is the time to beat so far. As his teammate Mateus Cunha comes through the 1:41.0. That's an amazing time for the Sauber man himself. And I did say it was be a 1:42, 1:03 for DeWald, and I was right. So you can't call me a tosser anymore. Coming next across the line here is the Aston Martin of Leandro on medium tyres. Can he be the time he came with a 1:40.8? Decent time. And Oliveira behind him on the softs with a 1:39.2. I think that's quicker than the sprint pole time, so that's a lot better from the Alpine driver. AC Sean with a 1:43.0, almost flat, missed it out by 0.04 of a second. AC Export among the 1:41.1, put him up to P4. I think that's just Sparky coming now to the long straight, taking this final winding couple corners, almost clipping the wall, but saying maintaining a good distance. He burned all that ERS. He's still got a lot to burn here, but will deploy and just in time it does. That's a little bit unfortunate for the Red Bull driver, but he does cross the line. There's caution in sector 1. I think it's Sean having another moment as it's Sparky with a 1:42.3, and Dan puts himself with a 1:39.7, 0.5 off the pole time. So it's a decent showing for the Red Bull boys, as I believe Sean did have a moment coming out of one of the corners, as there's a caution in sector 3 that is DeWald going slow. I'm not sure why he's going extremely slow. Doesn't seem he's low for. He's hit the wall, so that's giving him he's giving him a puncture. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he will definitely have to come into pits. That's a little bit odd. I should say myself. he didn't validate his laps. I'm not sure. He didn't have low fuel, but he does come into the pits. We will gloss over that for now, as a couple drivers do go back into the pits themselves. Jalavera, still a great time. Inhuman then disqualified from a session for going the wrong way. As you can see him parked in the castle section runoff. That will put him in a very, very bad position. He starts out the back of the grid for the actual race. I am not sure what had happened, but this is going bad to worse for the Red Bull driver. You can see Leandro cutting the track, invalidating his time, and almost clipping the wall. He has lost his end plate on his left. And that's really unfortunate for Dan. I'm not sure how that did happen, but you just saw him parked in the castle section runoff. So he will start at the back of the grid. He was having a really good qualifying session as well. It's about 4/10 off the pole sitter time. A couple of drivers on there flying laps now, as we do see an Alpine, I believe, going slow, unless it was a Ferrari having a little moment. Almost going a little bit wide. But unless it's probably Williams of Impulse. He will start on his flying lap very soon. So will Giacuto, and behind them is Leandro on a cooldown lap, I should say. Unless he is coming into the pits. He is coming into the pits, and he will abort that lap on the medium tyres. He'll probably switch to softs. Still no improvements yet at that time. No time set by Giacuto. Definitely found a man Impulse. But there's still 10 minutes to go here in qualifying. So anything can happen with those three drivers. As we cut to the next driver that's across the track. To the line, I should say. It is Sean. He's a second up on his time on those soft tyres. Going into the DRS zone now. He's lost all his ERS. And what time lap put him at? A 1:42.0, so that's 9/10 up on his previous time. But no improvements there on his actual qualifying time there. Couple drives on the outlaps. It is Mateus Cunha and a Sported Monk P3 and P4. Brilliant times. Although OB say that he's around 1.4, 1.5 seconds off the actual pole time itself. There is a caution in the last sector. He's just Sparky almost spinning out, and but he does come into the pits, so he'll be all good for the next time he goes out. Sean, bit of a lock-up there. I'm not sure what the fuck he just did, but we move. Next to cross line for their flying lap. Is it a Sauber? I believe it is a Sauber. No, sorry, it's just too old on a flying lap. Behind him, that is Impulse on a fly with a 1:39.5. Great time for him. And you can see the Ferrari in the background, the 1:39.8. So good laps from both of those drivers. Their first flying laps of the session. Puts them in a good position for the race. Divisional P2 and P4 Vojo. Caution in Sector 2. I think there's an Alpine. It is a Jalavera having a moment. In, I believe it's turn 13, I believe. 12-13 there. Next to cross the line as we cut over. It is Sean. But he will surely come into pits. He has got low fuel and blaring. Absolutely fucking crazy. See the Haas, him behind him. It's sort of Monk setting his flying lap. No, Dan, unfortunately, it could get worse. You could DNF in the race, but I hope that's not a commentator's curse for you, my man. Very unlucky with your entire weekend. Let's just hope the race you can sell some points. I do wish you the best of luck, and just don't let this. I promise I won't. I will not jinx you, my man. I will not jinx you. As you see, the Aston Martin of Leandro on a flying lap. Starting his flying lap now. As that is I think that is Mateus Cunha, who is coming into the pits off the straight. Now, what will DeWald do? He looks to be at a good time. He's 7 tenths up on his time. He's going to take it all the way to the line here, blasting past the pit entry. And I'll put him at a 1:42.8. 4. So good showing there, but not definitely not quick enough for the Sauber driver. As more drivers coming into the pits. There's a 6 minutes and 45 seconds left in the session. As you know, go to Exported Monk. He's 700th of a second. So there's not going to be too much improvement here from the Harsh driver, but if he gets at least 10th up, he will definitely pip the Sauber of Matthias Cunha for P5 for now. Come across the last couple of corners, couple of drivers on their outlaps. Sparky and Sean coming out of the pits. Ran around the same time as he became Exported Monk. I think he's aborting the lap. So that is unfortunate for the Harsh driver. He's definitely lost some time somewhere. And they'll put him back in the pits. No improvements for him. He still stays provisional P6. But we do see an Aston Martin absolutely flying here. 8 seconds up, a tenth of a second up in his time. Could this be into the 138s? I wonder. It will be a 138.8 for Leandro on those soft tyres. There were a couple questions on the pace difference of these Tier 2 drivers. Obviously, new ones coming in. We don't know the actual pace. But it looks like these AXV guys are going to be pulling their weight a lot. So that's a breath of fresh air for this league in Tier 2. As you see, De Wild crossing the line. No improvements for him. A 42.8 in his latest lap. So he will probably start P10. And definitely Venom is still in the pits. I'm not sure what happened with him. Extremely questionable, I should say, to not even set a quality time. But I think that's Sean starting his outlap now. Behind him, the only Dan, brother, you'll pass him, trust me. So no drivers yet to improve on their time, as that is, I believe, an Alpine on the long straight, but he will possibly come into the pits. He will. You see the low fuel sign blaring, and then he stops perfectly for the speed limit line in the pits. There is an Aston Martin also going to the pits, Leandro. Great time of 1:38.8 to kick off his debut this weekend in IRL. I do see a Sauber coming up to the pits. No low fuel for him for Matthias Cunha. So he will start flying his caution in Sector 2. That is the second Red Bull driver of Sparky. He's at a massive moment coming into the corner before the castle section. No wing damage though, so a little bit lucky for Sparky. Seems to be going a little bit slowly though. I'm not sure. This is probably a cooldown lap for the Red Bull boy. But for now, this is definitely an improvement on his time. 1:41.9 is his time to beat. We see Deathly Venom now coming out the pits to start his outlap. And Sparky just seeming to coast his way to the finish line, as there is, I believe, Sean about to come into he's coming into the pits, so that will put in no improvement for him. Sparky is 12 seconds up on his time, so he will definitely. No, he's actually coming. He's actually going to be doing another lap. So he thinks with a low ERS he will definitely improve. Sammy, I'm not sure about Will's suggestions, mate. I do controller, but thank you for that. Yeah, don't really know what to say on that, mate. So here we have coming to the line next is Matthias Cunha. He's at 2 seconds behind his previous time. No improvement for him, but he is. I believe it was just a cooldown lap, so he will start his flying lap now. As the other sour behind him of De Wild better finish his lap. Caution in sector 3, that is just a wild, running out of fuel just for the line. He's hit the wall and caused himself wing damage. We've seen that once already with Jakuto in the sprint qualifying, so that's not the best thing to do. However, as Kazi said, I have done that myself. He's definitely hit a bit once or twice into several tracks. So just taking a little bit of time to repair that front wing. It wouldn't take too long though, as we do see the Alpine next cross the line on an outlap. That will put, I believe, DeWald's session to an end, 1 minute 13. He will not have enough time to come out. So that will put him in a possible P10. Caution in sector 2. There's the second Sauber of Mateus Cunha. You can see him had a moment coming out of the car. So there's JR Kuto retires on track. Coming out. As you see the second Alpine behind him. His lap will be impeded by that slow Ferrari. Dan, obviously, that's the end of his session too. Having a DNF in the runoff section of the castle section. Next question. Caution in sector 3. That is Impulse. I think having a bit of a moment. Last, this is JR Kuto retiring in the pit lane. As you see, the second Sauber driver coming into the pits the first time. He will not improve on his time. So that's a provisional P6 for that Sauber man. Coming now to Sean on his air lap. 10 seconds left in qualifying for these laps are to be finished. Does that mean Impulse will definitely don't have enough? He does. With 2 seconds left, he will start his lap and finish it with a 1:41.2. Decent time. And he does. He will get a call down as Sean retires on track. You can see him there spun. Actually, he spun off the second corner, and that is going to cause a massive moment towards the end of this qualifying. You see him going. You see Deathly Venom going very slowly, but he was just in a cool down lap. He's actually run out of fuel, I believe. You see Deathly Venom retiring on track as well. I'm not sure this is allowed, lads, but we move for now. No improvement for Sparky. That puts him into P8. So that will put a qualifying done, but we cut across to Exacta Monk. He will not improve in his time. We see Impulse 1.2 seconds off his time. That will not be an improvement as well. The other drivers on a flying lap, I should say. Swan Monk across the line 1:45.6. That is a bad way to end your qualifying. He does finish in P5 at Impulse with a second up on his time coming into the third sector. He will just take it into the pits. So there is your qualifying done and dusted here in Baku. And it sees the debutant in the Aston Martin, Leandro, finishing with a 1:38.8. That is around, if my math is correct, 6/10 or so in front of P2. It is another debutant, Jay Oliveira in the Alpine with a 1:39.2, and behind them Impulse with a 1:39.5. Jakuto, the third man on debut with a 1:39.8. Luke Sward Monk 1:39.9. P5, P6 for Mateus Cunha. Decent time for him. Decent quality pace as well for that Sauber driver. He looks to be a decent possible second driver if his pace is this strong in Tier 2. Deathly Venom, only one lap for him in qualifying, as he did spend most of his time in the garage, 1:41.2. That puts him into P7. P8 is Sparky, 1:41.7. Sean with 1:40.0. So that'll put him in P9. DeWald, the last of the drivers to actually set a time without being disqualified, in P10 and up the back of the grid. He did set a 1:39.7 at the start of qualifying, but that would put Dan in the back of the grid because he was disqualified coming into the castle section. I do remind all the drivers, do not ready up Someone has rated up extremely early. I did send on to rate up in general chat, but it's lights out and away we go here. In Baku, couple drivers already switching positions here, as no incidents as of yet. As I say that, Sparky has spun up the back. There may have been contact in the rear of his car, as Dan will look to fight up a couple positions. He's fought reverse Tom. I think that's the Sauber going slow. So he might have had contact with the Red Bull driver himself. I don't think that's commentator's curse. I did think it's commentator's. As you can see, DeWald hitting the wall. He did try an audacious move on the Red Bull driver, but DeWald smacks it into the wall off the third corner, and that is definitely not the way you want to start. You see the damage on the right side of his car. That wing is destroyed. That's definitely going to ruin his confidence coming into this race. The Deathly Venom has now had to hit the wall. And it doesn't look like that much damage on the Alpine. As you see Sean, for the 4th time this weekend, hitting the wall in the castle section. And there's a virtual safety car now. And there's the wall again hitting the castle section wall. There is debris all over the track. So the virtual safety car comes out. Leandro still staying P1 as your JR Kuto gains a couple positions in P2, and the XV boys P1, 2 and 3 with Oliveira in P3 losing 1 position. The biggest gainer is Dan, P7, coming up 4 positions from the back of the grid. And the biggest drop so far is Impulse, only losing 2 positions. I don't know. I think JR Kuto has come to the pits. He might have had damage on his Ferrari car. There is damage on the Ferrari car. You can see his wing losing both end plates. There's a drive-through penalty for speeding on the pit lane for Mateus Cunha. As you see, Sean and DeWald coming into the pits themselves. The virtual safety car has ended, so they are all good for that. It's a bit of unfortunate timing, but race is back on the way. No yellow flags anyway, as Leandro takes a comfortable chunk out of Oliveira's time in P2. He's in the fastest first sector. See Impulse overtaking Sport Monk for P3, coming into the chicane. No driver going wide yet, so that's a decent line from everyone. As we cut to Dan here on the back of Mateus Cunha, who does have that drive-through penalty in the Sauber before P5, so he will have to pit in a couple laps, as I think Deathly Venom had another moment coming into the castle section. Not the best track layout for him, as DeWald runs straight into the runoff area in a corner, turn 3 I should say. You can see his wheel jerking violently, and he'll be retired from session for reversing on the track. It is a bit of a tight runoff section there, but nonetheless a retiree and a disqualification for the Sauber driver in section 1. Maybe that is what happened to Dan in qualifying. In the other castle section runoff, he probably reversed, and that's what caused the disqualification. So that puts Sir Lewis Hamilton, aka DeWald, the first technical retiree, on lap 3 of 18 here in Baku. As you see his teammate coming into the pits, Mateus Cunha, the only Sauber driver left on track, as well as Sparky. They will both come into the pits really early to change their front wing. As you can see, Mateus Cunha serving that drive-through penalty and getting fresh mediums on his car. Him and Sparky pitting for medium, Sean pitting on the soft tyres. He will come into the pits. So I think he's also front wing damage as well. You can see the end plate off his car. Those hard tyres are not what you want happening. And that is his second pit stop for the Mercedes driver. He's now around 30 seconds behind Sparky, who's in P9. Back out in front, you have Leandro, 6.7 seconds in front of Jay Oliveira, who has got a bit of a DRS train behind him. the Alpine driver coming across the turn 13 now. There's a bit of DRS tram behind him. We've got Impulse, Sportmong and Human Dan all in DRS range of each other. The caution sector 2, that is a second driver of that is Mateus Cunha, who's hit the wall off the castle section, so the safety car will come into play there as the Sauber is off the track. So no points for the Sauber team this weekend. Both having their own moments and hitting the wall. As you see Leandro coming into the pits to pit off his tyres and Deathly Venom. Sam calling it from the VIP box below me. He said there will be a safety car, and there is a safety car. I believe the first one in T2 history, not counting pre-season. If someone wants to double check that, that'll be lovely. As you see, Jay Oliveira out in front, coming for the safety car restart. I believe he has not pitted. Nope, P1 to 4 have not pitted yet. So they all look to keep on their tyres. Look at the tyres actually. All the top 4 still on the hard tyres that they started the race with, as Leandro, Venom and Jacuto are on newer hards, I should say, with Jacuto pitting around 2 laps ago. Sparky and Sean on medium tyres, as I'm not sure they did save a set of an extra set of hards. When they did say an extra set of hards, they started on the hards, but they didn't have an extra set to pit onto, but they do have to pit on a different compound of tyres. 2 tyre compounds are needed every race weekend for the actual race, otherwise you will be disqualified for improper use of the tyre compounds. So safety car here now, bunching up the field. You can see the Ferrari of Jacuto just coming to the back end of the pack. And behind them you've got Sparky and Sean, who have both pitted recently. And they'll look to come to the next lap to I guess, move to the end of the safety car train. As we come up to more to the end of lap 4. Some quite clean driving from most of these drivers. Not that clean for some. Obviously both Saubers retiring off track. Versus Tom, as you saw before, had that incident in the castle section. A lot of drivers had that moment, and I think that is Sean. Sorry, I thought that was another yellow flag, but Sean did not have a moment in the castle section for once, so I applaud him for that, as he tries to catch up to the field. Bit premature for myself there, but we move. So starting lap 5 now. Under the safety car, still waiting for Sean to make his way through. Unless, does he have wing damage? He does not have wing damage. He's just a little bit slow off the pace this weekend. That Mercedes. So he comes to start his own lap 5, as the rest of the drivers are still approaching turn 3. So he has around 30 seconds to catch up. This is nice time to have a nice cup of tea. If you haven't eaten yet, please eat. Have a nice snack as we wait for these cars to fully bunch up. Sean is still around 20 seconds behind to bunch up to the back of the grid. As the safety car pulls everyone around really slowly, looking around 120 kilometers an hour. Along everyone that is around 70 miles an hour. For you American viewers and people who use the imperial system of measurement. So no one as of yet hitting the castle wall. I want to say it's got very clean, I should say, but what will Sean do? Will he have a moment? He almost does, he almost clips it as well. But very clean from that Mercedes driver as he sees the pack in front of him still bunched up. I wonder if the safety car is going to go around for another lap, or will that come into the last couple of corners of sector 2. It looks like it is coming in this lap. So racing will resume. You can see Oliveira bunching up the field again. Sizable gap to Impulse on him, just waiting for the field to bunch up. Weaving left, right, and centre. You see Sparky and Sean almost swapping positions up the back. But they will have to cede position. As you can see, Jalavera. Doing bloody good, Andrew. How about you? No, good. Andrew is back. You can't hear him though, but I will be glazing him for the next 30 seconds as you come to turn one off the safety car restart. You can see Sean getting past Sparky. It is the restart off the safety car, Andrew. Thank you very much, mate. Leandro almost having a moment with the Red Bull of Dan coming off turn one. Everyone has kept it clean so far, so no incidents as of yet. As you see, Jay Oliveira out in front. He's got Impulse behind him in P2. The Haas does get overtaken by Dan, who has done a really good recovery drive. As Deathy Venom in the background gets past Exported Monk. So he's lost a couple positions off this safety car restart here. Not what you want to see from the Haas driver, but still Impulse is about 2/10 behind Jay Oliveira, who's in that Alpine on his debut, locking up the tyres a little bit there. Having a bit of a slide coming out the exit now, coming out to the castle section now. Both drivers going to get a really clean around. More drivers coming through that castle section. No one hit the wall as of yet, but we cut to Sean. He's doing a really well Sparky now up the back of the grid after losing a position to Sean towards the start of the first lap after the safety car restart. Couple drivers hitting the curb here. Going a little bit wide, but not hitting the wall as of yet. Couple of lockups in the background you saw. That will put J.R. Kuto in a good position to take P6 away from Explorer Monk, who has not had the best of restarts. You actually see him going wide. That's an unsafe rejoin from the Haas driver, and that's definitely caused some damage to J.R. Kuto's Ferrari. That is definitely getting looked at by the stewards. You can see his end plate has gone off. DRS is enabled on this lap after the safety car restart as Impulse takes P1 from Jay Oliveira, and he looks to push away from the Alpine behind him. As you do see Jay Kuta and Exporter Monk coming in for their pits, their first pit stops, I believe, of the race. If I can just look, no, Jay Kuta has actually pitted before. This is going to be possibly his second stop. That's just a wrong thing on my graphics note. No, that is his second stop. Exporter Monk comes in for his one mandatory pit stop. As the only drivers who haven't pitted yet are Impulse, Jay Oliveira, and Inhuman Dan, who are running P1, P2, and P4 respectively. Leandro will possibly gain the lead back. Actually, he will have to get in the lead back because the other drivers in front of him have not pitted, so they will pit. He will regain a net P1. So they come through the castle section now. Dan behind him around 5/10. And so this battle is surely heating up. Dan with a great recovery drive from the back of the grid after being disqualified in qualifying, after reversing on track, after having a moment towards the castle section, possibly going into the runoff a bit wide, locking up the tyres, and not what you want happening in qualifying. But we are still on board with Leandro as we now cut behind him to Dan. Look at this fucking camera changing quality here in IRL. I just figured out how to do that last week, and I'll be using it all throughout this weekend. Excited Monk with a 3-second time panel. You can see him with the track limits. I did say if you were to get track limits here in Baku, you're a bit of a silly fucking sausage, mate. So you see Dan, I did just cut to him now. He did an audacious dive on the Aston Martin, but he does get P3. But the three drivers in front of Leandro have not pitted, and they'll put Leandro in a moment. He does have more ERS, and he does have DRS in tow. Coming out alongside of him, that Aston Martin will regain P3 as Dan has to yield a little bit coming into the next corner. And that is a good battle here on the track so far as Impulse is pulling away from that Alpine. around 2 seconds from P1 and P2. Impulse is simply flying on those newer, on those tyres, but he does have to pit as well, as does Oliveira. So put again, Leandro in at P1. Dan almost clipping the wall out of the castle section. Very lucky not to get anything, as Deathly Venom has left the session. That is unfortunate, as Andrew will invite him as he is back for a brief moment before going to smash a couple Jaeger bombs in his mouth and get drunk on St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to whoever celebrates it. I will not be drinking as of yet, but let's just say towards the end of the night tonight, in that respect to such a lovely day of drinking and Irish jigs and new thick music, as Andrew would put it. There will be a couple schooners in my mouth, not on stream as of yet, but let's just say there will be a couple of Australian rugby matches I will be watching at the pub with a couple of my boys, and drinks will be had. As you just saw, I believe that was Impulse with the fastest lap, if I'm not mistaken. He did a 1:41.7, decent lap on race fuel. Death Venom does come back into the session. He still does have P5, but you just saw Impulse have a nick off the wall there. So he will lose a tiny bit of time to Oliveira, as Death Venom, as he went for him to control his car. You can see Sean almost squeezing the Ghost in. If that was his actual car, he would have hit the wall, and it would definitely been a penalty for that Mercedes driver. Nonetheless, he's extremely lucky that Death Venom hasn't already taken his car. But he is now coming out of that corner, and we will look to catch that Mercedes driver up about 1.5 seconds between the both of them for P5. Come now to Leandro, who has gapped Dan for P3. He looks to catch Jay Oliveira now. And 0.5 of a second, lovely right on the curb there. It's a small bit of a lockup for Jay Oliveira. That'll put the advantage back to Leandro. Coming out of, and you see, there's Leandro. There's Jay Oliveira spinning into the wall. So Leandro moves up into P2 and Dan moves up P3. Oliveira, unfortunate for him, he spins out of that corner a bit too heavy on the throttle. Sean has spun off, I believe it's turn 14 or 15, I'm not sure, but he has definitely spun. They'll put JR Kuto behind him and Export and Monk in a bit of a moment to catch the Mercedes driver. He does drop 2 positions. We see Jay Oliveira now coming to the pitch for a new front wing. He did have damage after collecting himself into the wall off the fight with Leandro, so he does his mandatory pit stop. Impulse now still out in front, so he will have 2.1 seconds to Leandro for pitting. He's still on those hard tyres. He will possibly go for a hard stop finish here in Baku. The only other driver yet to pit is an Inhuman Dan, who is still on hard tyres, hasn't pit, even under the safety car. So that'll put Leandro, and I'm going to say it again, the net P1 for now. If both drivers were to pit, that will put around a 22 second gap to Sparky, who would gain. I'm not sure if he's going to gain a position, because he's 20 seconds behind Dan. As we now see him taking the nice couple corners up the cars. A little bit of a lock up and a slide there from Sparky. So he will lose a little bit of time when he's getting as much time as he wants, if he wants to gain that position. As we see Dan and Impulse taking it the next straight. You wonder when the last 2 drivers are going to pit. Dan seemingly going for another lap on those hard tyres. As you see 10 lap olds softs for Impulse and Dan. Leandro did pit during the safety car. Actually, he didn't pit during the safety car. He pitted quite early, unless I'm thinking of JR Kuto, who pitted quite early. So he will be on the fresher hard and look to push him towards the end of the race. You have Sparky on the medium tyres, looking to finish him off. Deathy Venom on the hards, and then you got JR Kuto down to Export a Monk on the medium tyres. Still 2 retirees so far. we have both Sauber boys of Matthias Cunha and De Wilde. Matthias Cunha did have that moment in the castle section, and his wheel popped completely off the axle, was destroyed. As you see, Jacuto passing Deathly Venom does have those fresher medium tyres, however, they will possibly drop off towards the end of the race, and it'll be back advantage to the Alpine driver. And you can see more kind of trying him. Deathly Venom has retired on track. I'm not sure what happened with him. He retires on track and becomes the third retiree for this session. I'm not sure if that's just a bug. He did lead the session as well. Maybe that's a desync and a desync retiree for the Alpine drivers. The only one left on the track is Jay Oliveira, who is P7. You can see Sean having a massive spin coming out of the castle section, almost clipping the barrier yet again, as Jay Oliveira looks to push to gain positions after his pit stop. Going now to the straight, Dan 3.9 seconds away from P2. He's still pushing on those hard tyres, as so does Impulse, but Leandro may not need the Williams in front to pit to regain that position. He's on the fresher hard tyres, and he's got DRS and slightly more ERS to burn down the straight. You can see the DRS, that'll give around 15 kilometers an hour extra speed, but he does have to yield. You have he's still DRS wise, so lovely for him. You see the tyre compounds on the screen, still not much there. You hear Sean and Monk having a bit of balance as Sean spins off turn 1 off the exit. This is not the way you'd want to be finishing your Baku weekend for the Mercedes driver. That is it's going to be a poor weekend, and one to definitely forget for the Mercedes team. That is minimal points for Sean coming into the race. Of course, every driver will gain points, I believe, even if you did disqualify. If you are Dan after all disqualified, I will have Andrew look over that and yap in my ear, unless he's off drinking again, which I won't blame him. It's coming out to lap 13 of 18. Pardon me. Coming across the line now, Impulse is around 0.3 of a second in front of Leandro, and Impulse will pit off those hard tyres. What will that cause a reaction from Dan? He chooses to stay out. So Impulse is definitely going to go for the undercut here on Ian and Dan, as Dan does stay out for an extra lap. I see Impulse coming on those soft tyres. Leandro almost having a bit of a lock-up going out to turn 2. So on those fresher softs, he will come out in P3, as Sparky is so far away in P4. Deathly Venom got bugged out and could not take control back of his car. So that's very unfortunate for him, but he still gains a P9, and that is around, I believe, 3 or 4 points. The caution in Sector 3, that is again Sean having a moment. So that's a very forgettable race for the Mercedes team, and Sean, the only McLaren driver this weekend. You wonder what he's going to do. He looks to come into the pits, and I'm not sure if he's going to retire in the pit lane, or if he's just going to pit on a fresher. He's pit on some soft tyres. He does change his front wing, maybe a little bit of front wing damage for the Mercedes driver. That'll put him at a massive disadvantage, as you do see up at the front. Leandro is zoning in on a lap 14, and you wonder, will Sean be lapped as he comes out of the pits now. You also wonder, when will Dan P? He's 7.5 seconds off P2, and he will possibly drop to Impulse, who may make the undercut work. You see Dan going a little bit slowly now. He does come into the pits, so he will be advantage Impulse as he comes along the straight. He will regain P2. The undercut has worked for the Williams driver, and he will gain another position as he looks to catch Impulse. I see Sparky and Jacuzo having a bit of a battle with a J. Oliveira's other caution in Sector 3. That is a Ferrari. So there may have been contact with a couple of drivers. Giacuto having a bit of a spin coming off the corner for the long straight. Doesn't look like it's too much damage, just the loss of an end plate. He's come back to Impulse, 15.8 seconds behind. It looks like Leandro will take the win if nothing does go his way. I hope it's not the commentator's curse. As you come to as you're now at lap 14 of 18 here in Baku. Your podium, provisional podium for now, is Leandro on the hards in P1, Impulse P2, and Dan in P3. A great recovery drive and some amazing points for the Red Bull team. Impulse and Dan on the soft tyres. If Sparky down to Exporter Monk on the mediums. Giacuto just coming out of the pits now after having another incident. That's his, I believe, his third pit stop. It is his third pit stop, and Sean also on his third pit stop, also on the hard tyres. So a couple of drivers may just be looking for the fastest lap to take something home, take an extra point or two away from a couple of drivers. There is a caution in Sector 1. That is Sean again. He's lost his front wing, and he's about to lose his privilege of not being lapped. As you see, Leandro backing off from the Mercedes driver, giving him a moment or two. The virtual safety car does come out. There's debris all over turn 1 from Sean, binning it out of the pits. Actually, he didn't bin out of the pits. He bin out of turn 1 just like Dan did, hitting the wall here, except Sean's was a bit more violent, spinning twice and causing even more front wing damage for himself as the virtual safety car slows the pack down. This will cool all the tyres down, and DRS will be enabled as the safety car does come. The virtual safety car is stopped. Green flags are go. The debris is clean. You can see just in front, Leandro having a bit of a bit of a moment almost in the castle section as there's Sean hitting the wall off the chicane after the castle section. And this is going bad to worse for the Mercedes driver, losing his front wing, and he will have to pit again. He has been lapped as well on lap 15. He hits the wall yet again. I'm very surprised he hasn't DNF'd yet. As you see behind him, Impulse will lap him, and that will put Sean going wide again. He does graze the wall, trying to get out of the way of the Williams. And this is not the greatest showing of drivership, as there's a caution in Sector 2. I think it's the Haas of Exported Monk. He's had a moment coming out of the castle section. So corner proving really tricky for some of these drivers. It's back end in front. Lap 16 coming out to the end of turn 2 is Leandro on the hard tyres. He's going to push them all the way to the end. But Impulse has shaved about 5 seconds of his time in the last couple of laps. He doesn't look like he'll be catching him anytime soon, unless Leandro here has a massive moment. As Sean does come back into the pits for his, dare I say, his fourth stop on a new set of soft tyres. He is lapped by the Alpine of J. Oliveira. And I think there's caution in Sector 1. That is J. Oliveira actually going off. So maybe there was a bit of contact from Sean and J. Oliveira, but that wouldn't make really much sense, as Sean would have been ghosted coming out of the pits. So maybe you just went a little bit wide. No damage I can see on the Alpine, so he will be all good. Attaining P5, but he does have Sparky in front of him as Giacuto sets the fastest lap at 1:41.4. This is going to be the closest battle for P4. Sparky is on the much more worn medium tyres. Jalabert will possibly having a field day here. He almost seems to have moved out of the way a tiny bit, but he does take the battle line. Sparky there, the Red Bull driver coming up out of the castle section. Lovely turn, and you see Sparky going a bit wide off the exit, and that puts J. Oliveira back into P4, the only Alpine driver left, as Impulse sets a 140.9 on his set of soft tyres, as he's now around 8.8 seconds away from Leandro, but again, he will not have enough time to catch that Aston Martin. I see Jay Oliveira storming away now from Sparky, but Sparky will have DRS in tow, but he does have a lot less ERS to burn. As we come to the DRS zone now, Sparky's already burnt all of his ERS, so Jay Oliveira not really burning as much, keeping it on medium. That will put Sparky up the backside of him coming into the next DRS zone. Do see Jack Russo about to come across sector 3. He's in P7. He has not been lapped as of yet, and Sean definitely has. He's been lapped by the top 3. You see between Jalavera and Sparky as you go to lap. This is lap 17. Sparky having a bit of a momentum in that corner, so that puts him in jeopardy, and that will put Jalavera comfortably into P4. Unfortunately there for Sparky, but you see him almost slipping. He's actually spun Sparky, so the rear tyres have definitely heated up from that little mishap in the corner or two before. Those rears are definitely cooked. As you see Exported Monk passing him, but he does have a 3-second penalty to boot, so if Sparky can keep it clean and keep it in that 3-second range, he will get P5 back. Let's come to lap 18 now, onto the second corner of Baku, the final lap in this race in IRL T2. We have Leandro out in front by 7.9 seconds to Impulse in P2 and Dan in P3. I see Dan coming across the line now, no fast lap for him as yet, but he wouldn't mind a brilliant recovery drive, which caps off a quite disappointing weekend for the Red Bull driver, but he wouldn't mind. He's around 16 seconds off the car behind, which is the Alpine of Jay Oliveira for P4, and he would love to just finish the race right now and get that podium. Sparky does get past Exported Monk for P4, P5 I should say, and maybe he won't need that penalty for yet, but Exported Monk does have DRS, albeit doesn't seem to be doing much with it, except catching up to the rear of him, as this battle seems to be all but lost for Exported Monk. He will retain PC unless Sparky has a massive moment, but we come back to the front of the grid on 14 lap old hard tyres. It's been a race to remember. There's been decent races already in Tier 2, including pre-season. Damien smoking everyone off the rip, winning 3 of the 4 races. You see Leandro weaving on the straight. It's a debut win for the Aston Martin driver here in Baku. He almost hits one of the walls. He celebrates in style. It's Leandro who wins the Azerbaijani Grand Prix. Impulse coming in P2. A great drive from him as usual. As Exported Monk and Sparky having a moment. Go to the car section, and Sparky has been forced a little bit wide. I'm not sure why he went too wide into the castle section, but he will get P6. He's actually catching up a little bit though, but Dan will come across the line in P3. A great recovery drive yet again from the Red Bull driver, and that rounds out your podium. See Jay Oliveira behind him. He's Exported Monk having I think that's Exported Monk. No, that is Sean. Sean has been lapped on the final corner. As you see Sean there hitting the wall yet again, coming across the finish line, who finishes in P8. Dan's going wild in the Twitch chat as Jalavera finishes in P4. Exported Monk will finish the race in P5 after Sparky's mishap in the castle section, trying to send it too wide. There wasn't just enough room to get by as the wall closed in him more than he expected. Sparky will finish on 16 lap of mediums in P6. As here Jakuto, fortunate not to be lapped, finishing the race in P7. Decent drive from the Ferrari after all his pit stops. Come to drive of the day, it is Dan. Again, decent, not decent, a fucking fantastic recovery drive from the Red Bull driver, and definitely deserved it in my books. A podium after disqualification in the qualifying As you see, there he is, Leandro, on his debut for the Aston Martin team in Tier 2. Another Portuguese driver looking to dominate here in IRL. It is a debut win for him and a first win for the Aston Martin team here in IRL Tier 2. As you can see, Impulse in second place in that Williamson. Dan P3 are finishing off the podium as the podium celebrations here kick off. This has been a wild, a definite wild Azerbaijani Grand Prix. Turns, mess-ups everywhere, as there are the final standings for this weekend's points sprint points. Until you come to the race results, Leandro, Impulse, and Dan rounding out your podium. Oliveira, Expected, Monk, Sparky, Jacuto, Sean, and Deathly Venom round out the next couple drivers from P4 to P9. Deathly Venom unfortunate to retire. Reverse time retiring after hitting the castle section wall around lap 3, and DeWald getting disqualified for driving the wrong way after trying to reverse out of one of the runoff areas into lap turn 2. Those points throughout the weekend. Impulse and Leandro are tied for this week, so I have a good chunk, but that is from the F1 official points. It will be different for IRL points giving out, or whatever you call it, points allocation, I should say. As that will wrap up your Azerbaijani Grand Prix weekend. I will see you lads, I believe, next week. If I do hope Andrew does come back, as the next race for Tier 2, it will be next week in Zandvoort. So that's going to be a cracking race, and I will see you all then, hopefully with Andrew this time. So toodaloo, motherfuckers.